That jar in your cupboard, swirly font, a Tuscan villa on the label, a grandmother who never existed, probably has nothing to do with Italy. Industry analysis on Italian-sounding products puts the figure at roughly 97% of pasta sauces sold outside Italy, trading on Italian branding with zero actual Italian production. That's the food industry cosplaying a whole country to sell you corn flour and sugar. Today, 9 of Britain's biggest pasta sauce brands ranked from disappointing to genuinely concerning, then 4 that earn a spot in your trolley. Stick around. The ending has a supermarket investigation bigger than sugar. Number 9 on the list, Tesco's Bolognese pasta sauce, the most honest offender here. It doesn't pretend to be Italian, doesn't pretend to be premium. It just quietly puts sugar third on the ingredient list, ahead of the onion, with the fat coming from sunflower oil rather than olive oil. Here's the number behind it. A realistic 125-gram serving carries around 8.6 grams of sugar, over 2 teaspoons, stirred into a jar most people would never think to call sweetened. Texture-wise, it's smooth and uniform with no visible vegetable in sight. A thickener padding out a sauce that's mostly tomato puree and water. It's cheap and it's banking on you not flipping the jar over before dinner. Even the herbs stay vague. The label just says herbs, with no indication of which ones, while onion powder stands in for anything resembling a fresh vegetable. For anyone trying to cut back on sugar without realizing it's hiding in savory food, this jar quietly works against that effort. Landing at number 8, Morrison's tomato and basil pasta sauce. And it barely bothers to disguise itself as different. It opens with tomato at 64%, then water, landing second on the list, ahead of the tomato paste that's meant to deliver the actual concentrated flavour. That order alone says plenty about where your money's going. Further down, rapeseed oil and a corn flour thickener round things out, doing the same quiet work they do on nearly every jar this cheap. What's telling is how little separates this from the jar above it. Different supermarket, same recipe, repackaged under a different name. In practice, you're paying for branding more than for a materially different product. You're not just paying for less tomato here, you're also getting less of the lycopene, the antioxidant compound whole tomatoes are actually valued for. Coming in at number 7, Sainsbury's tomato and basil sauce takes a different approach to disguising a thin sauce. Balsamic vinegar, made from red wine vinegar and grape must concentrate. It sounds like a chef's flourish. In practice, it's there to fake the depth and acidity that slow-cooked, reduced tomatoes would normally build on their own. Corn flour still turns up 4th on the list, ahead of both sugar and rapeseed oil, doing its usual thickening job in a sauce where tomato itself makes up a reasonable 69%. So you've got decent tomato content, undercut by a thickener handling the texture, and a vinegar blend handling the flavour complexity the tomatoes apparently couldn't manage alone. Basil, the ingredient the sauce is literally named after, makes up just 0.4% of the jar. An afterthought behind almost everything else on the label. None of that vinegar trickery changes what's on the nutrition panel underneath. It just makes an ordinary jar taste like it deserves a better shelf. Number 6 on the countdown, Asda's sweet tomato and basil sauce. Give Asda credit for one thing: honesty in naming. It's literally called sweet. Sugar sits 6th on the list, but the detail that matters more sits earlier. Extra virgin olive oil makes up just 1% of the jar, with rapeseed oil doing the real work right beside it. Then there's yeast extract, a savoury flavour booster that appears when a sauce needs more depth than tomato concentrate, and water can provide alone. It's the same ingredient family that makes Marmite taste like Marmite, just working quietly in the background here instead of announcing itself. Speaking of that concentrate, tomato concentrate makes up 20% of the jar. Paste that's been dried down, then diluted back with water rather than fresh tomatoes doing the work from scratch. A shortcut that shows up on cheaper jars far more than premium ones. Yeast extract is also a concentrated source of sodium, worth knowing if you're one of the many UK adults trying to watch their salt intake. Quick pause. Notice the pattern yet? A refined oil, a flavour booster, and reconstituted paste, roughly in that order on almost every jar so far. 5 different companies, 1 shared playbook. Sitting at number 5, Napolina tomato and basil pasta sauce has the most Italian-sounding name on the entire shelf. It's packed in Liverpool, heritage that, on this particular jar, stops at the name, despite Napolina marketing itself as the UK's favourite Italian cooking brand, with over 60 years of Italian heritage on its own website. The giveaway is the colour. Alongside the usual corn flour and sugar, Napolina adds paprika extract, listed specifically to make the sauce look more vibrantly red than the tomato content manages by itself. There's also calcium chloride, a firming agent used to keep the tomato pieces looking chunkier than they'd naturally hold up in a jar. A tomato sauce that needs added colour to look convincingly like a tomato sauce isn't a flavour compromise, it's a visual one, and it says plenty about what's happening to the tomatoes during processing. Even reviewers have flagged it tasty, but be aware of the sugar and salt. There's something quietly unsettling about a company using a colour additive to make you believe you're getting more real tomato than you actually are. Number 4 on the list, Lloyd Grossman tomato and basil pasta sauce, the one dressed up as premium. TV chef's name on the jar, glass packaging, 30 years of great taste printed proudly on the label. The full premium illusion, sold at a price to match. Look past the branding and the ingredient order tells a different story. Rapeseed oil outranks the actual extra virgin olive oil, and sugar sits 6th, right after it. The numbers back this up too. 4.8 grams of sugar per 100 grams, meaning a typical 175 gram serving, half the jar, delivers roughly 8.4 grams, just over 2 teaspoons. What this really means is you're paying more for a name and a jar shape, not for meaningfully different ingredients underneath. Concentrated lemon juice also appears on the list, an acidity booster added to tomatoes that are already naturally acidic, doing the job a longer, slower simmer would do for free. It's a quietly frustrating kind of deception, paying more because a jar promises something different, only to find the same industrial shortcuts underneath the price. Quick reset. Notice something else. Every single jar so far has basil somewhere on the label. At this point, basil is doing more marketing work in this aisle than actual seasoning. At number 3, Ragu Smooth Bolognese Pasta Basil Sauce, one of the most recognized names in the aisle and buried near the bottom of the label, is the detail that actually matters. Natural flavorings, which per the ingredient panel contain milk and wheat. Nothing about the front of the jar suggests either is anywhere near it. For anyone managing an allergy, that's not a footnote. It's a risk hidden inside 3 vague words. The sugar content adds to the picture. 8 grams per 100 grams, meaning a realistic 125 gram serving works out to around 10 grams of sugar. Gram for gram, that's roughly the same amount of sugar as one Krispy Kreme original glazed donut, quietly poured over a plate of spaghetti bolognese. Ragu is also one of the cheapest, most recognizable jars on this list, which is exactly the issue. It contains so little of what actually matters, real tomato, real herbs, that buying it isn't really saving you anything. You're paying less for less. Basil itself only accounts for 2.1% of the jar, outranked by both sugar and corn flour, despite carrying basil proudly in its own name. For a family managing a genuine milk or wheat allergy, 3 vague words like natural flavorings aren't a minor inconvenience. They're a genuine safety risk. Down at number 2, Home Pride pasta bake sauce, creamy tomato and herb. This one very nearly took the bottom spot. It isn't a pour-over pasta sauce at all, it's a pasta bake sauce sitting on the same shelf, doing the same job. And it isn't a recipe anymore, it's a chemistry project built from powders, modified maize starch, egg yolk powder, dehydrated hard cheese. Milk shows up a second time too, as standalone lactose, 2 separate dairy derivatives doing the work 1 spoonful of real cream would normally handle in one go. There are also natural flavourings that, per the label, contain barley, celery and milk. 3 separate allergens folded into 3 vague words. Marketed as the UK's #1 pasta bake brand, Home Pride builds its creamy, cheesy texture almost entirely from additives, standing in for real dairy and real eggs. No fresh cream, no block of parmesan. Just starch and powder doing an impression of both. If sugar in the first 5 ingredients is a red flag, an ingredient list built around powdered egg and dehydrated cheese is the whole fire alarm going off. Stack up enough dinners built this way and it adds up fast. This is exactly the kind of everyday product behind the UK's ultra-processed food numbers. And at number 1, the worst on the list. Dolmio pasta bake sauce, creamy tomato. If Home Pride looked like a chemistry project, this is the entire periodic table. Count the dairy alone: skimmed milk, cream, butterfat, cheese, lactose and milk proteins. 6 separately listed milk derivatives in a single jar, on top of palm fat, modified maize starch, and a second, unspecified starch further down the list. There's also natural flavouring, a stabiliser, white wine and white wine vinegar, plus vague herbs and spices with no further detail. Catch-all terms doing an enormous amount of unexplained work in one pot. More importantly, here's what makes this genuinely different from every other jar on this list. Dolmio's own manufacturer, Mars Foods, has publicly recommended eating Dolmio pasta sauces no more than once a week because of the sugar content. Not a warning from us. The company that makes the product telling you to ration it. 6 dairy ingredients, 2 separate starches, palm fat, and a manufacturer's own moderation advice hanging over the label. This isn't dinner, it's an additive delivery system with a basil garnish. When the company selling you dinner is also advising you not to eat it too often, that's the food industry admitting its product works against you. That's the full countdown of 9 to avoid. But before we get to the ones worth buying, let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just about one jar. Since 1993, the share of adults in England who are overweight or obese has risen from 52.9% to 64.3% per the House of Commons Library, and the UK ranks 3rd in the world for ultra-processed food per person, behind only the Netherlands and Germany. NHS guidance caps free sugars at 5% of daily energy intake. Most people in the UK eat 2 to 3 times that, often hidden in savoury food exactly like this. If that's already changing what you reach for at the shop, hit subscribe. What's coming next is bigger than sugar. And there's one more thing worth knowing before we get to the good list. Because here's the part that has nothing to do with sugar. In December 2024, a BBC World Service investigation tested 64 tomato puree products across the UK, Germany, and the US. 17, including own-label puree supplied by Italian manufacturer Petit to UK supermarkets and branded Italian, appeared to contain tomatoes traceable to Xinjiang, China, a region linked to forced labour. Shipping data showed Petit had received over 36 million kilograms of tomato paste from Xinjiang-linked suppliers between 2020 and 2023. Products named included own-label puree from Tesco, Asda, Morrisons and Waitrose. Tesco suspended supply. Waitrose and Morrisons disputed the results and said their own testing found no Chinese tomatoes. To be clear, this was about tomato puree, not the jars ranked here. But tomato paste is the same raw ingredient feeding into pasta sauces, ketchup and ready meals across these same supermarkets. So next time Italian is on a jar, that word is doing more than flavour. Everything we've looked at so far has been what to avoid. But here's the good news. Not every jar on the shelf follows the same industrial playbook. Now let's count down the 4 brands that actually get it right, because the number 1 pick genuinely surprised me. Number 4 among the good ones, Mutti pasta sauce with pizzutello tomato and Calabrian chili. Real Italian production, and it shows in the ingredient list. Tomato pulp, tomato puree and tomato paste together make up around 90% of the jar. Real olive oil, real Calabrian chili, a variety genuinely known for its smoky, salty heat. No added sugar anywhere on the label. Mutti has been processing tomatoes in Italy for over 120 years, and it shows. Even the Calabrian chili here carries a recognized regional identity, not a vague chili with no origin. It's not flawless. Natural flavoring still appears near the bottom, so even Mutti hasn't gone fully bare ingredients. But compare that one vague line to the sugar and starch stack we just walked through, and it's not close. You'll find Mutti on Amazon and across most major UK supermarkets, so there's genuinely no excuse to reach for the sugary jar next to it. This is proof that widely available and actually good aren't mutually exclusive. Choosing a jar like this over the sugar-loaded ones above isn't just about taste. It's one of the easiest swaps for cutting hidden sugar from your week. Coming in at number 3, Mr. Organic Roasted Garlic Pasta Sauce. Real Italian production again, and an ingredient list that reads like a recipe card. Sun-ripened Italian tomatoes at 87%, onions, roasted garlic, Italian extra virgin olive oil, lemon juice, sea salt, basil, parsley, black pepper and oregano. Every single ingredient carries organic certification. Roasted garlic at 2% is doing real work here. It's listed by name and percentage, not hidden inside a vague flavoring. That's the difference between a company building flavor from actual ingredients and one faking it with an additive. No added sugar, no starch, no stabilizers, no color. Just tomatoes, vegetables, oil and herbs, the way pasta sauce worked before an entire industry decided it needed corn flour to survive on a shelf. Mr. Organic is widely available on Amazon and through health food shops across the UK at a similar price point to Bayona and Mutti. For anyone trying to eat fewer ultra-processed foods without overhauling their whole diet, swapping in a jar like this is about as simple as healthy changes get. At number 2, Bayona Organic Arrabbiata. Certified organic, and the ingredient list reads like a vegetable box, not a lab report. Tomato pulp, tomato puree, celery, carrot, onion, extra virgin olive oil, salt, chili pepper. That's it. No added sugar, no starch, no color, no mystery flavorings. The celery and carrot aren't filler here. They're doing what a proper sofrito does at home, building natural sweetness and depth without a sugar bag anywhere near the recipe. It's a genuinely different approach to the same problem every jar on this list is solving. Bayona is also a female-founded British brand, and its organic certification means every one of those 8 ingredients has been independently verified, not just self-declared on the label. Bayona is available on Amazon, plus health food shops and the organic aisle of larger supermarkets. Slightly pricier than the bottom shelf jars, but you're paying for vegetables, not additives. Buying from a smaller, values-led producer like this is also, in a small way, a vote against the industrial template the rest of this list represents. And finally, at number 1, Daylesford Organic Tomato Passata, the one that wins by doing almost nothing. 2 ingredients, tomatoes, sea salt. That's the entire label, made by a small artisan producer in Puglia, southern Italy. Daylesford is a certified B Corp built around a working organic farm in Gloucestershire, a company whose business model depends on people trusting the label with nothing left to hide. There's no oil listed because you add your own when you cook it. No starch because there's nothing here that needs artificial thickening. No added sugar, no colour, no flavourings of any kind, and because when the tomatoes are this good, none of that is necessary. Technically, this isn't a finished pour and serve sauce. You're building it yourself with garlic, oil and herbs. But that's exactly the point. Every other jar on this list is trying to hide what it's made of. This one hands you the raw material and gets out of the way. You'll find it through Ocado, on Amazon, and directly from Daylesford's own farm shop and website. Choosing simplicity like this, jar after jar, is exactly the kind of small shift that adds up against a food environment built to default to sugar and starch. Here's what this comes down to. The moment a company needs sugar to fake ripeness, starch to fake body, colour to fake freshness, or a natural flavouring to fake flavour, the tomatoes stopped being good enough to do the job alone. Flip the jar. Check the first 5 ingredients. If sugar's in there, put it back. If you see modified anything, put it back. If a 2-ingredient jar of tomatoes and salt looks too plain to work, that plainness is exactly what you should be paying for. Subscribe if this changed how you'll shop. Comment which one shocked you most.